You're listening to Gratitude Space Radio. Discover more at gratitudespace.com.
You know, this is a story about resilience, but maybe not the kind you're used to seeing in movies. It's not about some big heroic moment. It's really about the quiet, day in, day out practice of finding something to hold on to, especially when everything else feels like it's shaking.
And this is what it all boils down to, this one simple phrase. Calmness requires stillness. For a man named Chris Breen, these three words weren't just a nice thought, they became an actual survival tool, an anchor in a storm he absolutely never saw coming.
All right, so let's set the scene. We're in Sydney, Australia. It's November 2019, and for Chris Breen, life is, well, it's just life. It's moving along as planned. He's working, he's living, and he has no idea that his entire world is about to get turned completely upside down.
He was just 43 years old, and at 43, he gets a diagnosis that completely blindsides him, stage 3 bowel cancer. It's the kind of news that just feels impossibly young, and it hit without any warning at all.
So, right as he's grappling with the medical reality of it all, another very real fear starts to creep in. His work contract was about to end. But then, his employer did something pretty remarkable. They offered him a permanent contract, basically saying, "We've got your back through this." Now, this didn't cure him, of course, but it removed this huge layer of financial panic. It just completely changed the emotional math of the fight ahead.
And this right here, this gets to the very heart of his story. You know, support isn't always about fixing the problem. Sometimes it's just about making the unbearable bearable. It's what makes it possible to just keep going.
So how in the world did he find any calm in all of that chaos? Well, in the time leading up to a surgery, Chris didn't panic. Instead, he kicked into what he called planning mode. He got his will sorted out, and he looked his own mortality straight in the eye, confronting it head-on.
I mean, that sounds incredibly heavy, right? And it is. But there's this weird clarity that comes with it. When the future suddenly becomes a huge question mark, the present moment, it gets very, very loud. You start to notice what actually matters, what's really holding you up. And this brings us to the crucial idea: stillness. Let's be really clear here. This is not about being passive or just giving up. It's the exact opposite. It's an active, conscious choice to find your footing, to steady your mind when it feels like it's sprinting in a million different directions at once. And he put this idea to the test in the toughest of places. Sitting in that chemo chair, a place of such profound physical and mental challenge, he would just repeat his mantra: calmness requires stillness. He'd stare into space, turning that incredibly difficult moment into a kind of meditation. No hype, no forced positivity, just stillness. But of course, getting through months of treatment takes more than a single mantra. So Chris developed this strategy to break down what felt like an overwhelming, impossible journey into something he could actually manage, one day at a time. He basically created a little reward system for himself with these mini goals. And look at how simple they are. Step 1, get the chemo poured out. And the reward? Step 2, take a proper shower. That's a victory. Then, the next goal, walk to the end of the street. Another victory. Each tiny task became a real, concrete goal he could achieve. And that's the thing. These small wins weren't trivial at all. Each one was tangible proof that he was still moving forward, that he was still here. This is what gratitude in action really looks like. The ability to see and celebrate progress, no matter how tiny it might seem to anyone else. He also wasn't alone in this. Because of COVID restrictions, he was actually separated from his family in Melbourne. So his support network became this incredibly local, essential circle. His partner, his dogs, the neighbors who check in, the colleagues who stood by him, and of course, the medical team guiding his recovery. So, on the hardest days, what did his process really boil down to? It was this, super simple. First, choose the mindset. Then, choose the very next, smallest possible step you can take, and then just repeat. That's it. It's this simple, powerful formula for navigating the impossible. So what happens when the fight is supposedly over? You get the all clear, and you'd expect this huge tidal wave of relief, right? Well, the reality for a lot of survivors, including Chris, is actually way more complicated than that. Think about it. The treatment schedule, as brutal as it was, it gave him structure, a routine. But when that routine suddenly disappears, it can feel really unsettling. Life is all yours again. And that comes with this new kind of fear. Every little cough or ache brings that terrifying question: is it back?
This whole experience completely changed his relationship with the future. That obsession with 5-year plans and what's next, it just kind of faded away. His focus shifted to something much simpler and honestly more profound. Don't rush what's ahead. Just use today, right now, as well as you possibly can.
Chris's journey, which is just beautifully captured in Richard Collodi's book, isn't a simple before and after story. It's a continuous practice. Finding stillness, choosing your mindset, and really recognizing the support that's all around you.
And that kind of brings us to a final thought. You know, asking, what am I grateful for, can sometimes feel like a really big question. So let's try reframing it based on Chris's story. What supported you today? Was it a person? A paycheck? Maybe your pet? A quiet moment to yourself? Or just a short walk outside? What was the small thing that held you up?
This is Gratitude Space Radio. Thanks for being here.
Share the love, listen on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
And explore more at gratitudespace.com.